Magandang hapon, nakikinig kayo sa Radyo Kapwa, CKUT 90.3 FM. Where all Filipinos are Filipino enough.
Magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. Welcome to Radyo Kapwa on CKUT 90.3 FM. Fran Stoner here today, welcoming you all. And we also are also joined with Veronica Jane Bertiz, Desiree Ruiz, and the wonderful Laura Kaluya, who always does our sound engineering, but whose voice we love to hear as well. We will be, yay! We love Laura. Thank you, Laura, for everything you do.
Thank you, guys.
So today, super excited to welcome Rebecca Manankil. She is an immersive healing experiences curator and is pretty multidisciplinary in terms of her alternative medicine. So there's a lot of different ways this conversation can go. But one of the things that really attracted me to Rebecca in the first place is the sound healing she does. And I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But, you know, we always like to start with a little icebreaker question. So I would love to talk to folks about today, what is a sound that you find comforting or therapeutic or healing? And for me, it's really the ocean. And it's funny because the ocean in real life, like ocean waves, but also kind of in just like made up form. And what I mean by that, it's like a weird thing to say, but what I mean by that is like, I have a toddler who's a bit of a light sleeper. So we have kind of those like baby sound machines and there's like different options. It could be like train, airplane, like white noise, but then there's also like nature and things like that. And there's even thunder, but I know some folks are a little afraid of thunder, but there's the option of like ocean waves. And I know it's fake and made up, but I still find it comforting. Passing it to you, Vero.
I don't know. It's I was thinking just putting on my headset and noise canceling and the silence was like good enough. And I never noticed that I actually liked it. As Filipinos, we grew up in a household where everyone is just loud. Like it took about a year to adjust for me to not speak like this, you know. It was just really, really loud. And every time I arrive home from a visit from my parents, Matilda's always like, whoa, 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 why are we talking so loud? Why are you yelling? And I'm like, I'm not. So I would sometimes when I get really, really overwhelmed, I would just grab my headset and just put on the noise canceling. And that way the sound chaos in my head kind of dims down a bit. And then I can start asking myself like, oh, why was I upset? Or why was I feeling this? So I think for me, in terms of sound, I guess like silence also helps me in terms of just getting back to my feelings because I don't hear myself anymore. Oh, that's a good one. I don't hear myself anymore because it's too loud. So it could be silence for me. But nature sounds, when we went for a queer walk, nature sounds also great. But also nature sounds means silence and a little bit of like, whoosh. So that was great too. So that's me, silence and then nature silence. So passing it to you, Des.
I love that. I'm a mix of both of you. So I do not have a toddler, but I do have a sound machine for myself because I appreciate silence like you, Vero, but it takes me longer because there's so much noise in my head. And so I need a mix of both. And so I just recently bought a sound machine alarm clock specifically to help me decompress at night. And I found myself, so like France, I really gravitated towards the ocean sounds before, but ever since buying this machine, I've been sleeping with the fire sounds. And there's something about listening to the fire and just imagining like
the crackle
things, but then things being transmuted into, back into the earth. I don't know. There's something so soothing. At least right now, currently, I am very soothed by the sounds of the fire, but completely hear you with the sound of silence. But again, I need a step before to get to the silence. Like I wake up and I enjoy silence, but going to bed, I need the fire. Passing it to you, Laura. What do you like to listen to?
Thank you. There's something about like listening to fire and kind of feeling the warmth, I think.
Yes.
There's just, you imagine the warmth and then it's comforting, I find. There was something I wanted to add to Vero's because something I learned in sound engineering and audio engineering was that noise canceling is it the silence of noise canceling is a sound in itself, because when you put noise canceling headphones, what it does is it takes the sound from outside and it feeds you a negative version of that. So you're basically having double the sound, but instead it cancels out.
Is this why I forget how to breathe sometimes when you turn it and go?
A little bit, because you kind of feel it suction, right? It's kind of yeah. So
Oh.
that was something so interesting I found in audio engineering. But to answer the question, for me, there's a specific sound of rain when you're in a car that soothes me very much. I could fall asleep, which is very bad if it's raining and I'm driving. But but when I'm just sitting down in the car and it's raining, I like to stay in there before going inside the house.
Definitely soothing. I know that sound.
Yeah. And then waves to fall asleep, whether they're natural or unnatural. And then the trees in the wind is something that
It's singing to you. I call it singing to you and dancing to you.
Forgot about how comforting the wind is.
Yeah.
True. Oh, thank you everyone for your amazing answers. We are super looking forward to interviewing Rebecca Manankil, and we hope that you stay tuned and that Radio Kapwa is a soothing therapeutic sound for you all.
Yes, thank you for joining us today. This is Laura playing you some music. The first one is called Baliw by Sud, and the next one, Puede Ba by Lola Amor.
Sa'yo lang ako naging ganito, para bang nasira ulo ko, pader ng puso ko, unting-unting bumibigay, sinisira mo. Tagal kong malas sa pagmamahal, ilang beses lang nasasaktan. Sana hindi na maulit ang dati. Ayoko na munang maulit ang dati. Sa'yo lang napaliw, sa'yo lang nagkaganito, sa'yo naramdaman na puso ko lahat. Sa'yo lang ako naging ganito, ngumingiti sa alaala mo, kahit na mag-isa. Pag naiisip kita, nabibitin lang ako. Sa'yo lang napaliw, sa'yo lang nagkaganito, sa'yo lang naramdaman na puso ko lahat. Sa'yo, sa'yo lang napaliw, sa'yo lang nagkaganito, sa'yo lang naramdaman na puso ko lahat. Sa'yo. Babaliw pag ikaw ang kasama, wala ka sanang ibang makilala. Kung noon nais ko dun ay di na ngayon, ika'y gusto sa habang panahon. Sa'yo lang napaliw, sa'yo lang nagkaganito, sa'yo lang naramdaman na puso ko lahat. Sa'yo, sa'yo lang napaliw, sa'yo lang sasabihin. O wag ngayon. Pwede ba? Wag muna. Teka lang. Ayoko pa. Gets ko na. Di na maayos to. O bakit ba? Pwede ba magkunyari na lang tayo? Huwag ngayon at di ko yata kakayanin. O wag ngayon. At alam ko na ang iyong sasabihin. O wag ngayon. Pwede ba? Wag muna. O teka lang. Ayoko pa. Wag ngayon, wag ngayon, wag ngayon, wag ngayon. Wag ngayon, wag ngayon, wag ngayon, wag ngayon. Pwede ba? Wag muna. Teka lang. Ayoko pa.
Thank you once again for joining us on CKUT 90.3 FM. Upcoming is John Marvin with the news from the Philippines.
Magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is John Marvin Reyes. I am a youth leader and a community organizer here bringing you important news back home in the Philippines. The article is from the Philstar Global with a title, Masking in Workplaces No Longer Mandatory. Wearing of face masks in workplaces is no longer mandatory according to the Department of Labor and Employment or DOLE. Wearing of face masks in workplaces will now be voluntary, Labor Secretary Benvenido Laguesma said yesterday, adding that this covers all workers and workplaces in the private sector. Excluded from the directive are health facilities such as clinics, hospitals, laboratories, nursing homes, dialysis centers, medical transport vehicles such as ambulance and paramedic rescue vehicles, and public transportation by land, air, or sea. Laguesma said employers and their workers may opt to implement a policy requiring the wearing of face masks after taking into account the hazards and risks such as enclosed spaces and poor ventilation, industry requirements like food safety, and incidents of other communicable diseases such as flu and tuberculosis. The directive also states that the elderly, immunocompromised, unvaccinated, COVID symptomatic individuals, persons with commodities, and pregnant women are encouraged to wear face masks in workplaces. Laguesma said both the employers and workers have the responsibility to ensure safe and healthy working conditions. He said that the easing of the face mask policy in workplaces is in accordance with an executive order issued by Malacanang on October 28. Earlier, the Department of Education announced the wearing of face masks in classrooms would be optional. Meanwhile, Senator Bongo urged the public, especially the students, not to be complacent as the threat of COVID remains. Go, chairman of the Senate Committee on Health, said that the health and safety of the Filipinos are his priority. Human life, unlike a movie, has no part two. A life lost is a life lost forever. Let's take care of each other's life and health, Go said. While I welcome science-based policies and measures that will help us renormalize our lives again, such as voluntary wearing of masks indoors and outdoors, we should still be complacent as the threat of unseen and evolving enemy remains, Go said. If the wearing of masks is not an inconvenience, Go said everyone should continue doing so for protection. He reiterated his appeal to those who have not been vaccinated to get vaccinated, especially the booster, noting that this is the key to overcoming the pandemic. Go lamented that the country's booster rate is still too low, one of the lowest in the entire Southeast Asia. He said that as of November 1st, the vaccinated rate was around 48% on children aged 5 to 11, while first booster dose uptake remains low nationally among all age groups at around 26% of the target population. The article is written by Rodina Villanueva on November 4, 2022. Thank you so much for listening. Maraming salamat sa pakikinig. Once again, this is John Marvin Reyes, bringing you Philippine news from abroad.
Welcome back, everyone, to Radio Kapwa CKUT 90.3 FM. Thank you for spending your afternoon with us. I am joined today, as usual, by Veronica, Desiree, and Laura, and we are so happy to be welcoming Rebecca Manankil, who is a dear sister friend of mine and just an amazing, talented, multidisciplinary healer, just doing that decolonization work and just providing that support to our people. So we're so honored to have you, Rebecca. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yay! We miss seeing you in person.
I know. I miss you folks so much. Truly, you have no idea how much I miss my Montreal community.
But I mean, we won't go into that too much, but honestly, just keep following us, Radio Kapwa, Sant Kapwa, because we have some things in the background going on for services that we want to provide the community. So let's jump into it. Rebecca, please introduce yourself to our lovely audience who might not know you.
So my name is Rebecca Manankil, and I am a multidisciplinary healer based in Brampton, Ontario, so just a little bit outside of Toronto. And I specialize mostly in sound medicine, sacred movement through yoga and different physical practices, human design, as well as past life regression therapy. And really what my purpose is and what I do in my work is helping others become experts in self-healing by exploring different alternative wellness modalities.
Wow.
Mic drop.
I love that. Wow.
It's
Veronica.
just like as Filipinos, like alternative therapy, sound.
Oh my
What
God.
is happening, right? I'm like, ano yan? May pera ba?
Oh my gosh, it's funny you say that, because when I told my like elders, like my grandmother's sisters, they're like, I was like, oh, I'm gonna go study and be a yoga instructor now, and help people heal their bodies. And they're like, oh my God, Anak, that's amazing. Now you can maybe just go be a doctor. I was like, okay, all right.
I'm like, the doctor is the Western part.
Yeah.
I am a healer, but for our community, right? So it's very funny and very strange, but also it's like, how do you say it in English? I say it in Tagalog, ikinagagalak, to know this, right? To be connected to you, even this is happening virtually. Sound, we just did an icebreaker just earlier, and we're thinking like, what's the sound that is like, that gives you, that's kind of like therapeutic for you, or that gives you some sort of comfort? And I said silence. And I said silence from my noise canceling, but Laura, our sound engineer, was like, actually, it's still sound, And so I would like to pass on this question to you. Like, what are the sound, the comfort that you find therapeutic or comforting for you?
I would say it's a mixture of two things. It's definitely the sound of water. Water either on a beach, on the waves. It could just even be like a stream or a creek. Even the sound of like the shower running is super therapeutic. I attribute that to my water sun sign being a Scorpio. But also, as you said that, I couldn't help but think of like the sound of garlic sizzling.
And the smell of it coming out.
Something yummy is
I was like, if you can smell it from this video, I'm telling you, it smells really good. And it's just garlic and oil.
That's all you need. And yesterday's adobo, you're all good.
Yes. And like, you mentioned how like interdisciplinary and a healer, but like sound healing, like for those who don't know, like how do you run it through them?
So I feel like, and especially coming from, a very kind of not closed-minded, but, rigid sometimes when it comes to wellness and healing and in being Filipina, I think that it comes off as something like woo-woo, like, there's a term in Ilocano, like on my mom's side of the family, her mom is Ilocano. So like, it would kind of fall under the realm of like magkukulam, like kind of like, what is this? Like, but on a physiological level and on an actual like medicinal level, I attribute it to a vibrational therapy. So sound creates movement and it creates vibrations. That's how we hear, because the eardrum is vibrating, and that's how we receive sound. But on a cellular level, it has the power to actually shift your cells and create movement and move towards an intention that you set. So I actually just had a conversation with my grandmother who is facing, a health issue. And I told her like, Mama, if you just kind of like sit and hum to yourself and like think like my body is healing, and instead of saying I have this medical condition, you're actually training and telling your cells like, okay, this is what we got to do. We're going to heal now. We're going to move towards perfect health. So it's actually a mind-body connection created through the vibrations of sound. And then I would say on kind of like an energetic spiritual level, we have more range in our ears on an auditory level than we do with our eyes. So it really affects you. I actually think from soul to surface, because it creates that deep relaxation state when your mind goes into the alpha state, which is very similar to meditation. And it allows you to kind of release any type of mental or energetic stress or tension that you might have.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. And I love this whole, the mind, the connection to body, as folks of color, as Pinays, as we're so disconnected from our bodies, and we've been conditioned, like to go to school, work 9 to 5, like it's to be safe essentially. Right. And I love how you're serving the community, or, one of the many ways that you serve community is by guiding us to connect more with our bodies and our spirit, which leads me to the next question, which is about your work with human design, which I love and is something that we've talked about several times together. We're both human design guides and teachers. So please share with our community a little bit about human design and how this has enhanced the work that you do, right?
Yeah, I feel like for me, human design, what I love is it kind of gives you this. It's like a blueprint. It's like a roadmap to how, for me, the way that I receive the knowledge is how energy moves through your body and the best ways to conserve and use your energy, and how you can navigate that with the human design type energy types of others on a very base level. And I feel like it's allowed me to guide others to look at themselves beyond the body. And I think that's something like I'm still struggling with now myself personally and honestly, especially as a Filipina. Like, you know, I can guarantee when I walk into a family function, it's either going to be a comment on I've lost so much weight or I've gained so much weight. I'm on the latter part of the spectrum right now. So I actually avoided Thanksgiving this year for that conversation.
Good for you. Boundaries.
Thank you. And it's allowed me to help others look at themselves from a holistic perspective. And it's exactly what you said, especially as Pinays and as women of color. It's almost like it's like a martyrdom when it comes to our bodies. Like if we're not completely exhausted in our minds, in our bodies, in our spirit, it's like we haven't worked hard enough, which I'm sure comes from the colonial mentality. It's like blood, sweat, tears, and anything less than that is just not enough, right? And for human design, I really love that it gives you this kind of introspection to who you are and allows you to navigate it with a certain sense of acceptance, like knowing kind of like the lower expressions and higher expressions of, for example, like your gate placements, which is where certain gates of energy align when within the time you were born and your human design birth date.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for those, I just wanted to jump in really quickly. Sorry to cut you off. For those of you who have never heard about human design, so it is a mix of astrology, the I Ching, Kabbalah, the chakra system, and essentially tells you or shows you where the energy was the day that you were born and 3 months before you were born. And why 3 months is a question I get asked a lot, is because they say that's when the soul enters your body. So again, going back to what Rebecca was saying, the blueprint, because we've been conditioned for generations to think with our head and not with our body. And a lot of the healers now that were erased, or that are coming up now we're going back to that trust in our body, right? But we're still very much in the mental state, right? So we still need to see something, we need to visualize it. And human design is a visual tool, essentially, that helps healers or guides like Rebecca and I help people understand where the energy was the day that they were born and 3 months before, because it basically says like, this is where the energy was. But then society, your peers, your parents told you to do everything else but stick to who you essentially were when you were born, right? So carry on, Rebecca. I just wanted to add that in for anybody who had no idea what human design was.
Yes, and thank you, because it is a very it's a not complicated. It's a very in-depth system. So you're right. It's kind of like you see a chart, which is the body graph, which is kind of like the roadmap that I was talking about, and it can be like very overbearing. But I just feel like even in my own family, like my mom, I told her her human design and my siblings' human design, and it's helped us understand each other so much more. So, like for example, my sister is a manifestor, which is one of the human design types, and one of their kind of characteristics is they require a lot of rest. So we've kind of all gotten used to the fact that she's like resting or sleeping 80% of the time. She's asleep right now. So it's like, it's very interesting. And for my own self, like if I'm not getting full body chills, which is a attribute of my generator energy type, it's kind of like a heck. If it's not a heck yes, it's a heck no. So it's really helped myself, my partner, and most people that I talk to about human design. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm asking everybody around me what's their human design, and they're a projector and I'm a manifester, so it's perfect for this business venture. So it's really cool. I really love human design.
Oh yeah, it's amazing, and I actually got into it because I wanted to be able to better mother my daughter. And as you mentioned, it's just allowed me to have this newfound patience and awareness for the people around me, for my relationships. And again, it's because again, nobody teaches you these things, right? Nobody teaches you these things. And for some people say, yeah, it's common knowledge, but where do you actually learn this? So, when I'm around certain people, I'm like, all right, like my daughter has a lot of energy and that's great. And that people will say, yeah, she's a kid, but I take it a step further and I'm like, all right, she has a lot of energy. I love her and she's probably listening now, but I feel drained at the end of the day, right? But the story, it comes back to the story that I tell myself. Like the story that I would tell myself before was, oh, I can't keep up with her. Oh, I'm getting old. I'm too tired. But now I'm like, no, she just sucks the living life out of me. I integrate energetic hygiene and cleanse at the end of the day. And I'm like, that is not mine. That is hers. I integrate time to regroup and check in with my body. And then I start again the next day. But again, beautiful tool that has helped me and so many others connect with their body essentially, which is so important for all of us.
Yes, I agree. It's incredible, and I definitely suggest everybody to at least look into their human design out of curiosity, and then take it a step further and explore, readings for sure, because it really does give you a really great sense of introspection and understanding with nonviolence towards yourself. It's like, this is who I am, and I gotta embrace it. So yeah.
Oh, that's really beautiful. I know you touched on this a little bit, but we asked this to every person in every interview. In what ways have you felt not Filipino enough?
Oh my goodness. My entire life.
Yes.
My parents, they came here pretty young. Like my mom actually emigrated to Montreal pretty young, just before, I believe, middle school. My dad came here when he was even younger, like 8 years old, to Toronto. And so I feel like I've realized that a lot of their experience as, the formative years of adolescence was also integrating into white Canadian culture, which reflected really heavily on my upbringing. And it's not a fault thing, or I'm not angry at it. It's just my dad doesn't speak or understand Tagalog. My mom does speak Tagalog and Ilocano, but it's not something that was spoken at home. So I think that's something that's always really affected me, not understanding or speaking the dialects. And also, I've never been to the Philippines. And it's always this like shock and like, oh my God, you've never been. Like, yeah, because it's not something that's feasible for everybody, especially my family. My parents being young, having me, and then having a business, and also we have no family back home. So it's very expensive and challenging to do.
For sure.
So yeah, definitely the fact that I don't speak the language or understand it and have never been back home definitely is a soft spot for not feeling Filipino enough.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing all that. And thank you for naming that, because I think that sometimes we're so afraid to say it because like the narrative of kind of like normalizing this not enoughness has been so pervasive growing up and in our culture. And like here we are now like speaking it and realizing that like there's so many ways we are seeing ourselves reflected in one another. And like actually we've all been struggling with this, which actually kind of leads to our closing question of what does Kapwa mean to you, right? Because now we're realizing in the diaspora, oh my goodness, maybe there are actually as many ways of being Filipino as there are Filipinos, right? Like the diaspora experience is a valid Filipino experience. Like we're not a monolith. A whole bunch of us had to leave for many reasons and had to preserve and survive by, forgetting the language. It was definitely a survival mechanism. But now that we're going into healing, building community, what does Kapwa mean to you? What is this action for you of pagkikikapwa?
For me, Kapwa is really the eye that I see in others. I always close my sessions with my light recognizes your light. And I think that, on one side of things, and my mom and I were just having this conversation, it's just like, there's sometimes this very like us against them or me against them or, us. And it takes away from that. And I think that's something that obviously was instilled through like, a whole era of colonization by multiple outside, outside kind of groups. But it's more coming back to like, how do I see myself in this person, and in what ways are we alike versus us being different. And that's really helped me, especially in my healing practice, because I think that especially now in the world of kind of like wellness and spirituality, it's like very much a like kind of like a hierarchy, or I'm better than you because I know more, I have this training. But I feel like that takes away from the essence of healing, which is connecting to somebody in the same ways that you've been vulnerable. So I really try to see, where have I experienced something similar, and how can I gain from my experience, or sorry, share my experience rather, to help this person and help. If I always say, like, when I heal myself, I heal my community. And when I heal my community, I'm healing the world. So I really feel like it's how I see, that person being a part of me and them as an extension of myself, and therefore kind of the world. Yeah.
Oh, what a beautiful place to end this conversation. I wish we could talk more, but we can have you back again. And I totally resonate with that, right? Like you heal something in yourself, you heal part of your lineage, right? You break the cycle, you break those intergenerational curses that we're really trying to end right now. So thank you again for joining us, Rebecca Manankil. You can find her on Instagram at Inspire and Instruct, but we will also be sharing all her pages and sharing all the amazing things she does so that you could follow her. And if you feel called, call her for some healing. Thank you so much for listening to us today at Radio Kapwa, and please enjoy some more of our music. And I know there's community announcements coming up as well. Have a wonderful day. Magandang hapon sa inyong lahat.
Thank you, listeners, for still being with us. We really enjoyed that interview with Rebecca Manankil. This next song for you is called Kung Di Rin Lang Ikaw by December Avenue featuring Moira de la Torre. Enjoy.
Kung hindi rin lang ikaw ang dahilan, pipilitin ba ang puso kong hindi na masaktan? Kung hindi ikaw ay hindi na lang, pipilitin bang umasa para sa ating dalawa? Giniginaw at hindi makagalaw, nahihirapan ang pusong pinipilit ay ikaw. Kung di rin tayo sa huli, aawatin ang sarili na umibig pang muli.
Up next is a song called Imahe by Magnus Haven. We hope you enjoy.
Kinukulayan ang isipan, pabalik sa nakaraan. Huwag mo nang balikan, patuloy ka lang masasaktan. Hindi na kulang kakaisip sa isang magandang larawan. Paulit-ulit na binabanggit ang pangalang nakasanayan. Tayo ay pinagtagpo, ngunit hindi tinadana. Sadyang mapaglaro itong mundo. Kinalimutan kahit nahihirapan, para sa sariling kapakanan. Kinalimutan kahit nahihirapan, mga oras na hindi na mababalikan. Pinagtagpo, ngunit hindi tinadana. Gusto natin na hindi sa isa't isa. Hindi na may babalik ang dati nating pagsasama. Ang tamis ng iyong halik ay di na madarama. Pangako sa isa't isa ay di na mabubuhay pa. Paalam sa ating pag-ibig na minsa'y pinag-isa. Tayo ay pinagtagpo, ngunit hindi tinadana. Sadyang mapaglaro itong mundo. Kinalimutan kahit nahihirapan, para sa sariling kapakanan. Kinalimutan kahit nahihirapan, mga oras na hindi na mababalikan. Pinatagpo, ngunit hindi tinadana. Gusto natin na hindi sa isa't isa. Kinalimutan kahit nahihirapan, para sa sariling kapakanan. Kinalimutan kahit nahihirapan, pag-ibig na ating sinayang. Pinagtagpo, ngunit hindi tinadana. Hanggang dito na lang tayo. Kahit nahihirapan, para sa sariling kapakanan. Kinalimutan kahit nahihirapan, sukat akalain pag-ibig mo'y nagbago. Ang nais ko, pag-ibig mo, binibigkas habang tumatakbo, bumibigla sa mga yakap ko. Pag-ibig ko, bakit lumalayo? Pag-ibig mo, tila nalalaho. Kapag makapiling ka, hindi alam ang gagawin. Iiwas ba o titingin sa'yo? Kagandahan, ang kislap ng iyong mata ay di ko na nakikita. Binibigkas tanging pangalan mo, hinahanap ang mga yakap mo. Pag-ibig ko, bakit lumalayo? Pag-ibig mo, tila nalalaho. Kapag makapiling ka, hindi alam ang gagawin. Iiwas ba o titingin sa'yo? Kagandahan, ang kislap ng iyong mata ay di ko na nakikita.
We hope you enjoyed that last song. It was called Dulo ng Hangganan by Four of Spades. Now, welcome to your weekly community announcements. The BCRC will be hosting its third annual Storyscaping Workshop in collaboration with Quebec Writers Federation this fall online via Zoom on November 10, 17, and 24th from 1 to 3 p.m. The title of this year's workshop is Write Your Own Story with Comics. For more information, email advisor@bercmontreal.com. Next up, come and join Focus Concordia for Netvember, a networking event. Connect with fellow Concordia students and Concordia alumni coming from different fields this Friday, November 11th, 2022, from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., JMSB 6th floor. Next up, apply to the Center for Gender Advocacy's Board of Directors. For more information, reach out to info@genderadvocacy.org. Not quite ready for that commitment? They still encourage you to swing by and see what's up at their AGM on November 21st from 6 to 9 p.m. EST on Zoom. Next up, QPIRG McGill Culture Shock presents QT BIPOC Comedy Night at Bar Laritz on the 25th of November. Tickets will be by PWIC at the door and $10 online. Link in their IG bio to secure a ticket in advance. This event is wheelchair accessible. And last but not least, join the Pan-Asian Collective on December 14th for the last Asian book group meeting of 2022. They will be discussing My Grief, the Sun by Sana Wani. Email panasiancollective@gmail.com for more information. And with that, this is Laura from Hiraya Productions. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Radyo Kapwa on CKUT 90.3 FM. Mabuhay.
Liberation for one is liberation for all of us. Tuloy ang laban.